Today, Pastor Mike will be giving the message, and today we're actually starting a whole new sermon series on the second point of our vision statement, which is on our church being a family. So I'm really excited to hear his message and kick off our whole sermon series. And to prepare our hearts and spirits, we have a video to watch, so please enjoy that as we prepare.
Okay, it's great to see all of you. It's amazing to watch how half the room emptied out. This was full of people, and now it's Francois and Byron taking up 5 pews. It's quite amazing. Yeah, you go, guys. So I'm really happy to be able to kick off our new sermon series. This sermon series is all about community, which is a topic that Adonia and I are very passionate about. Hey, Justin. So the sermon series is called A Community Where God Dwells. And the first message is, what does an ideal community look like? So if you haven't seen it already, we have created a new vision for our community, for our local church. It's posted in the back. And little by little, we're going through each point on that vision, sharing about why it's important. And there's so much to say about each point. And it's really kind of a joy for us to be able to go through the process of kind of redefining our future in a way. So this series is all based off of the second point in our vision. And that says that we are a church that isn't a church, but a family where the experience of community, love, and God's grace abound. For us, one of the reasons why we felt passionate to come to Colorado and to pastor this church was because we really believed in the value of community. We could really feel that that was something that was going to be important for our kids as they got older. And it was also something that we really felt was worth investing into. There are so many people in the world who are looking for community. They're looking for belonging. They're looking for support to be on this difficult sometimes journey with other people of faith who are going in the same direction. Of course, the many people, when you think of a church, or I'm going to use the words church and community interchangeably many times throughout the sermon, so I hope you don't mind that. I know that many people, when we think of the word church, think of the building or the traditions, the rituals, the titles. But if a church was only those things, then I can fairly say that wouldn't be very interesting to me. It wouldn't be something that I would want to be a part of. And it, oftentimes can lead to people not even liking the concept of church. But church is much more than that. At least that's what our vision is. That our church is much more than just the building, the traditions, the titles. I mean, none of those things in and of itself are bad. But we want more than that. But just like how a family isn't just a family by default. I mean, you could say, oh, I was born into a family, but it doesn't always necessarily mean that you feel like that's your family. And I want to share a photo here real quick. Isn't this an amazing photo? If you can believe it, these are all adopted foster children of this couple here in the middle. I actually know her, the one on the lady on the left in the hat. She's actually my friend from high school. We went to school together. And, we were just teenagers. And who'd have thought that, fast forward another 15 years, that she would start just fostering all these children. And I'm always seeing her on Facebook trying to raise money, like, hey, I want to adopt these kids from China. Hey, I want to bring these, there's these kids who are in the court system. 5 of these children are actually from the same family, and the judge said that if somebody wanted to foster them, they'd have to foster all 5 kids. So she took all 5 kids. And, some of the children have disabilities and weren't wanted by anybody. And she's somebody that I oftentimes think about when I think about how challenging it is to raise a family. And she's really a kind of person that I really see as embodying like a Christian life, character, to take care of children that aren't even your own, that aren't even born to you. Now, naturally, I'm sure that this family goes through many challenges and struggles. But it's a family, right? Even though they're not blood related. They weren't born from the parents. And just like in any family, you also can find people who don't even have a relationship with one another, aren't even connected in heart, even if they are actually blood related. So just like that, a community, we're a community, right? But just because we're a bunch of people coming together on a Sunday morning doesn't make us feel the sense of community. It doesn't just come automatically because we're all here, we're the same faith, we've known each other for years, some of us. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's something that has to be created. It's something that has to be intentionally done. So I want to talk a little bit about that today. Rick Warren says that the key issue for churches in the 21st century will be church health, not church growth. He also says that since the church is a living organism, it is natural for it to grow if it is healthy. So looking at the photo of the family and my own experience and these quotes, I really feel strongly that what's more important than numbers, what's more important than us getting together on a regular basis, what's more important than just being a part of a community is asking ourselves, how healthy is that community? How healthy is our family? I actually want to share some things. This past couple weeks has actually been really tumultuous in many ways. There's been a lot of drama in some ways. And I really just, when we set out to come here and become the pastors and grow our community, help to make a healthy community, we didn't know exactly what that was going to look like, and we didn't know exactly what that would mean. And we're still trying to figure it out to some degree, but we're getting a better handle on it. But I think that you see the results in the fruits, so to speak. For example, many of you remember last week Anissa came up, and she shared in tears of how her nephew had passed away in the tragic circumstances. And it just destroyed the family. It was just such a heartbreaking experience for them. And all she was asking was that people could come to the memorial service. She recognizes none of us knows him, but just to support the family. And I was, when we went there, I was surprised. Really, it was what she was saying was that they don't know a lot of people, and it was really true. Besides our church community and a few coworkers, nobody else was there. And I really felt proud of our community in that moment for, rallying around this sister who was asking for help. And even though nobody actually knew the young man, or not too many people knew the young man, though some people did, personally, could go and just show their love and show their support for this family. And Anissa told me it meant a lot to them. It meant a lot to them to see all these people that her sister didn't know almost any of them, to come and to show respects for their young son who passed away. It was a big deal for them. Another situation that happened was one of our young ladies who's getting ready to give birth in a few days started going through a really difficult time. Her husband's out of town because of work for like a month or a few weeks, and she's got 2 young children of her own, and she almost fainted. And it was a really scary situation for her, because here she is almost getting ready to have a baby, but not knowing how to ask for help, not knowing that there's a lot of love and support for her, just trying to do it on her own without her husband around. And when people found out about the situation, Shirley was one of the first people there. She went even though her husband just had an eye surgery the day before, which I thought was really quite amazing, because she's already dealing with her I don't want to say burdens, but challenge, the things going on in your life, but took the time to just go and visit this young mother and see if there was anything that she could do. And then from then, word started to go around, and people were like, no, we can't just leave her in that situation. And so people started organizing, let's bring meals, let's go visit her, we spend the day, spend the night. And then eventually had her come and one family just told her, well, you shouldn't just be there by yourself. Anything could happen anytime. Why don't you just come and live with us for a few days? Even though this family already has 2 children of their own. So just beautiful, really beautiful expressions of heart, expressions of God's love. God loves us in that way, but he can't come down and invite you over to his house. He can't come down and make you a dinner. But we can do that for one another, and I thought that was really beautiful. And I just want to recognize it and give a round of applause, because I think that that's a big part of what community is about. So we're not necessarily looking to create a perfect community. We're just looking to create one that's healthy. One where you can feel love and God's grace and belonging and community in it. It's kind of like our health, right? Like our body. I think most of us, I don't know, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, have given up on having the perfect body. But if I can have a healthy body, then I could be quite happy with that. The same with our community. I don't expect it to be perfect. I don't think anybody does. But we do strive to be healthy. So what does that look like? So this is the first in the sermon series, right? So we're going to be covering different points in the next 5 weeks. And so I'm going to cover a few of those points real quick, but we're going to go much more in depth into them in the coming weeks. The first one is that the church is modeled after a healthy family. When we think of a healthy family, what are some things that come to mind? For myself, I think about, mutual respect between siblings, husband and wife, parents and children. There's a healthy respect there. There's a healthy communication, a willingness to work through difficulties, misunderstandings, work out problems, and also that there should be a sense of harmony and peace. And also, I believe the healthy family includes a higher purpose. In the Bible, you can see the phrase one another or each other is used over 50 times in the New Testament. We are commanded to love each other, pray for each other, encourage each other, admonish each other, greet each other, serve each other, teach each other, accept each other, honor each other, bear each other's burdens, forgive each other, sing to each other, submit to each other, and be devoted to each other. These are some examples of the way that it is written in the Bible, where it talks about one another or each other. This obviously was a big deal. In the New Testament, right, it's chronicling the beginning of the Christian church after Jesus' passing. So these were the essences of the new Christian church when things were just getting started, and it was very common to just talk about one another, because that's essentially what they had in many cases. I have a couple quotes here also from, this is from Reverend Moon, our founder. He said, "The church is the place where all kinds of people are gathered who must help and guide one another." It's not optional. It's not something that we just do if we feel like it. It's something we must do. If we commit to being part of a church, if we commit to being a part of a community, it also means that we're committing to one another. Because we are the church. One another is the church. It's not like you're committing to a doctrine. It's not like you're committing just to a building or an organization. We're also committing to the people that are a part of it. He says, if you don't come to church, you should at least see family members. When he's family members, you mean church family, like the members of your church, or witness to other people. So he's saying here that even if you don't come to service, go and meet people. Find people to teach or to witness to, or go visit one of our other families. Make a relationship, spend time, invest into them. The next point is that a healthy church is structured for unity, harmony, and growth. So like I said, we're gonna have a whole message on how we can structure, or how we've been structuring our church to promote these values, and how many churches are actually structured in a way that they actually promote disunity and disharmony and stagnation. Many churches are literally structured in such a way that you could not grow them and you cannot experience unity and harmony in them no matter how hard you tried. So our goal in our church and our vision for our church is to really take this seriously, to minimize the amount of bureaucracy and politics and potential divisions that can happen within our community, and maximize our emphasis on actually doing things, ministry. I want to talk a minute here about, maybe a minute. There's some words that you oftentimes hear in churches, and I just want to mention them real quick. Voting, majority rule, committees, elections, and boards. What is something that all of these things have in common? Go ahead, just shout something out. Democracy, okay. Anyone else? Bureaucracy, good. We got the cracies in there. Anyone else? Business? People getting together. All right. All right, one more. Participation. Okay, great. So those obviously are all true. The point I'm making here is that none of these things are found in the Bible. And that is relevant to us because our goal is to get to a place in our church where we are living in how would I say, newness, maybe? Newness, freshness. So in the Bible, in the New Testament, it's chronicling the new churches. They're just getting started, right? Got the church in Corinth and the church in Philippi, all these different churches in different parts of the world. And they don't have a whole lot of stuff going on yet. It's not like the later church many years down the road where you've got like the Pope and you've got all these different things going on. It's just people who are following Jesus. It's basically what it is. And in a sense, we want to get back to those days too, because we don't want to get caught up in all the bureaucracy and the, it's fine. There's certain ways that we do things, right? Businesses are run a certain way, organizations are run a certain way, governments are run a certain way. But what we've done is we've taken the government way of running things and we've stuck it on the church. And I think that most people agree that the government is not very efficient at doing things. And so we have many churches that are run by multiple boards, multiple committees, multiple ad hoc groups, and you've got to vote on everything, and you've got to do this, and you've got to jump through red tape, and if you want to do a ministry, you've got to get it approved by the board of elders, and you've got all this stuff that takes up all the time, and in many cases doesn't actually get anything done. And on top of that, many of these structures tend to promote division. For example, every time you vote on something, unless you have a unanimous vote, somebody is going to not want to vote for that thing, right? Let's say, for example, today we were to vote on something, and half the room was to say, oh, I like that idea. Let's say 51% of you, and 49% of you said, no, I don't like that idea. So according to the way the way that voting is done, right? Majority rule, we would do what the 51% of people wanted to do. But that would mean that the 49% would lose. That would mean that the 49% of people who didn't want that would be left out dry. Sorry, majority rule. Is that how we run family? Do you do that in your family? If we did that in my family, we would be outnumbered, exactly, right? I have 4 kids, 2 adults. Anytime we ever voted on anything, the kids would have their way. We'd eat ice cream every day. We wouldn't go to school. We'd just play games all the time. And the kids would just watch Power Rangers all day, which is what they would do if we let them, because they love Power Rangers right now. But if we don't run a family that way, and the church and the community is an extension of the family, which I believe it should be, then we don't want to run our church in a way that's going to create division, going to create losers, and that's going to bog down, and it's going to take away our focus from doing what God is calling on us to do, and sitting in rooms and talking and voting about stuff. So, like I said, we got a whole message on that, and I don't want to draw it out, but that's the point. Let's see here. The Bible says, I believe this is in Corinthians, let there be real harmony so that there won't be splits in the church. Be of one mind, united in thought and purpose. So this is from Corinthians, right? Paul wrote this letter to the Corinthians as one of the new churches, and they're experiencing divisions. They're experiencing difficulty. And he's saying, let there be real harmony so that there won't be splits in the church. Be of one mind, united in thought and purpose. So he's giving us a lot of clues here. Part of it is the importance of being united in purpose and mindset, right? Like having a similar purpose. Anyway, but that's for another time. The next point is that each person has a unique and valuable role in the community. I've mentioned this before. We're going to go into it a lot more in depth, but the church is not a business and the church is not an organization. Although it can be if that organization or that business is run like a family. The church is a body. In the Bible refers to the church as a body many, 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 many times. And it refers to the church as the body of Christ. So, let's see here. This is Rick Warren. Just as there are many parts to our bodies, so it is with Christ's body. We are all parts of it, and it takes every one of us to make it complete. For we have different work to do, so we belong to each other, and each needs all the others. So this really emphasizes that in a church, we have different people that do different things. And some people are a little bit more, Adonia and I were the pastors, so we're a little bit more, I guess, obvious or like publicly out there. So it's kind of obvious, like we're like a part of the church. But it's important for us to remember that in our body, there are some parts that are a little bit more obviously important than others, right? You've got the brain, you've got the heart, you've got your lungs, your hands, your feet. You know that you can't live your life very well without those things. But you've also got things like your appendix. That serves a purpose too, but, if you're the appendix of the church, you might feel a little bit like, oh, no one recognizes me or cares about me or whatever because I serve an important purpose, but no one knows it, that kind of thing. And there's many different parts of the body that are working in tune with one another, but we might not necessarily recognize that they're important, right? Actually, it was up until recently that, and I remember reading an article about this because I used to be really, really into health and different parts of the body and everything. And it used to be that people didn't think that the appendix was important. Or maybe people thought, oh, well, the appendix must be important because it's there. But then more recently, they started realizing that the appendix can store like a refresh of your bacteria, your gut bacteria that help with your immune system and your digestion and stuff. So actually pretty important. But we all have different roles. We all have different parts to play. It's partly up to us to discover what those parts are, but there's no role. There's no person that's more or less important than any other person. And lastly, the work of the church is done by the people. So there's a couple things that I want to address here. For example, one is that traditionally churches will find or people will elect or hire or whatever a pastor or a minister, and it'll be kind of the idea that, and this is the way it's been done in the past, that person will do all the ministering work. They'll be like a cleric, or they'll be like the holy man, right? Like the holy man, or I guess holy woman, although there's not too many examples of that. And that person will go around and they'll say the prayers and they will baptize you and they will take your confession and they will they'll visit you in the hospital. They'll preside over your funeral, over your wedding, and basically do all the things that are considered like holy, I guess. And the problem with that is that, for one thing, pastors are no holier than anybody else. That's very obvious. And then another thing is that that creates a bit of a bottleneck, in that people have an expectation, oh, the pastor should do all this stuff, take care of all these people, and then not necessarily feel the desire to do anything ourselves. Our job is to come to church and give money and support the pastor so he can do all the holy stuff. And that's just not a model that we are modeling that is not a style that we are modeling ourselves after. The vision that we have for our church is that, yes, we have pastors, and yes, they fill a certain role, but we are all called to minister. We're all called to fulfill some vision for our own life that God has a calling on each and every one of us. If our job is anything, it's to help promote and foster each person to fulfill whatever it is that God has on their hearts. Reverend Moon said, our family members are the advertisements of the church and of God. Fundamentally, without the people and without all of you doing what you're doing, the church doesn't really have any value. It doesn't matter if we have great sermons on Sunday, it doesn't matter if we have great music, it doesn't matter if we have lots of money and nice buildings, but if we're not doing the work of God, if we're not doing the work of ministry, whatever that may look like in your life, then what value does it have? So we're going to go more into that on the last sermon of the series. And I just want to, before I finish, just highlight a few of the things that are happening in our community that I think are really inspirational. I recognize that not everyone is always aware of everything that is happening. But, for example, back, 10 months ago or so, I asked Alice, Alice, we really need to grow our welcome ministry. Before that, we had volunteers, and that was really beautiful. Different people volunteered to help to welcome people and to bring the offering up and things like that. But I told her I really want to make a more intentional effort to welcome people. Not just to welcome them, but how can we make it better? How we have these welcome bags. How do we make people really feel welcome when they come to our community? Should we sit down with them at lunch? Should we sit down with them in the pews? How can we help them to feel like they're part of the community and part of the family? And that's not something you can do just by having a couple people saying hello when you walk in the door. And I've just been so inspired. Alice has really taken that on as almost like her mission. And yes. And many people have become a part of her ministry, and I really do consider it a ministry because it's helping people to feel like they're a part of our community and our family. And that takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of effort. There's a lot of prayer involved, there's a lot of communication involved, and there's a lot of effort involved. So I'm very, very grateful for them. Another great example is the ministry Roger's starting today. It's not just going out and hiking. It's not just going out into the outdoors. It's about an experience. It's about creating opportunities and experiences for people to feel like they're part of a family, right? And what greater way to do that than to go out into nature together? We all want to get out into nature more anyway, don't we? This is a perfect opportunity. Roger's handing you a silver platter. He's organizing everything. All you have to do is just show up and put some shoes on, And so especially if you have a young family and you want to get out into nature, but you don't know which of the family-friendly hikes, and it's just perfect. So I'm very grateful for you, Roger. Thank you. Let's give him a round of applause. We also have many families that are volunteering to cook. It's not a small thing. It's a big deal. It's not easy to cook for 130 people. You're like, you try to guess how much food you should make, and then you end up making enough food for 200 people, and you're like, what do I do with all this food? But it's beautiful. Like for today, there's a family downstairs, a Nuong family. I don't even know if I'm saying their name right, but they've just started coming to our church in March, I believe. Or it was in May, and they've been here, and they wanted to find a way that they can help out, contribute. So they're downstairs and they're making lunch for everybody. It's really beautiful. So please make sure you thank them when you go downstairs. And it's not just them, but other families who are new to our community are also saying, well, this is some way I can pitch in. This is some way I can invest into my community, into my family, and make people feel loved. One of the greatest ways to make people feel loved is to make them a nice meal. That's one of the things I learned growing up. My mom every day made a wonderful meal. Every day. Even if she was just cooking a pizza from a box, she would put stuff on the pizza. It wasn't good enough just to have a pizza put it in the freezer. You have to put extra meat on there. Got to put extra, especially the veggies, right, to make it healthier. And that it's one way that you can make people feel loved, which is why when Adonia and I first came here, we committed to having every family over for dinner. And there's still a few people we haven't done yet, but it took 2.5 years to get through almost everybody. It was crazy. But because we knew that was a great way to invest into our community and to make a deeper relationship, was to just sit down over a meal together. And thank goodness that somebody, Peggy, thought that we should get a dishwasher, because that's been incredibly helpful. Thank you very much. Another thing is, and you may not have heard about this too, but we are in the beginning conversations of starting our own school. Yes. Now, I have never started a school before, so I have no idea what that involves. So for many years, people have told me, hey, we should have our own school because we want to be able to raise our kids with our values. And you don't oftentimes get that. I grew up, I went to a Catholic school, and I can tell you they tried, but it was really hard for them to teach the values that they wanted to, because for one reason, all the kids who were kicked out of public school went to that school. So we got some of the worst of the worst. But that was partly because we lived in a small town and there wasn't really any other schools to go to. You kicked out of public school, you didn't have options. But but we want to be able to raise our kids in an environment with values that supports them to be successful in their life, and not just successful with money, but as having a family and being a husband and being a wife and a parent. These things are so important. So, and this is all happening just grassroots. This isn't happening because I said, hey, you go start a school, because that wouldn't have worked. Believe me, definitely wouldn't have worked. But because some people in our community feel that passion to want to do it, it's happening. And I pray and hope that it comes to fruition, because we're just in the beginning phases. But that's happening. They had like a 4-hour meeting the other couple weeks ago, so it's amazing. And then, Darshell, I'm sorry, I'm going to put you on the spot for a minute here, but Darshell's been coming to our church for a couple months now, and she's been just a great presence to have in our community. And she's been coming and studying the Divine Principle as well on Fridays, and it's just been really awesome. And one of the things that she's done is she said, hey, I want to help out with something. I want to serve in some way. So many of you maybe remember a while back we tried to do a cleaning ministry, and we got people to volunteer to clean different rooms of the church, and partly to take off some of the weight of the person who was cleaning before. And it kind of fizzled out after a while. But one of the things Darshell said that she could do would be to help with this cleaning ministry. And so we're still trying to work out the details of how that's going to work. But I'm, for one, am so grateful for that, because right now Dave Mahardy is cleaning the church all by himself. And as you can imagine, that's if you guys want to clap, go ahead and clap. It's great. But you have to understand, he's our maintenance guy. He's got skills. He knows how to, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we have a fence that's falling apart over here, and a shed that looks like it's terrible, and he's building tables, and we're only about a third of the way through, and the hallway downstairs looks terrible, and the Sunday school rooms need to be refurbished, and there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done around this building, and he's willing and happy to do it, but he's also spending, one or two of his days here. Instead of working on maintenance, he's cleaning, which is very commendable. But we can do that, right? I can't do the stuff he does, but I can come in and I can clean. And so actually I really feel like this is not just a way to serve one another and a way to show good stewardship of our church, which is incredibly important, but it's also a way to give him a little bit more freedom to be able to do the things that he needs to do. So anyway, we're trying to work that out and figure that out at this point. So I'm not like making any, I'm not asking for any commitments right now, but I'm just saying that these are some of the great things that are happening in the community. And these are signs that we are doing something right. People want, and it's, in my mind, it's fabulous that somebody like Darshell can come to our community, relatively new, and say, hey, I want to do something, and she doesn't have to go through a bunch of red tape. She doesn't have to appear before a board and make a plan and a proposal of what exactly is going to happen. They have to vote to approve it, and then 6 months later it starts, if then. That we can just do things, as long as they're good things, right? Obviously. So I'm proud of that. I think it's really awesome. And I just wanted to share those things with you, because there are things that I feel like are indicative, or they're symptoms of healthy church growth. Things that happen just simply because people want to do it. People want to find a way to contribute. People feel gratitude. I want to give something back. That's healthy. It shouldn't be out of obligation. It shouldn't be out of duty. It shouldn't be out of guilt. I've talked to people in the past, especially when we first arrived here. I said to one young man, hey, I know you've been doing this job for a couple years. You shouldn't do it just because you've been doing it. I want to give you the option to step out if you don't want to do it anymore. And he did. He said, oh yeah, actually I don't want to do it anymore. And I said, fine, great. We'll find, because if you're doing something and you don't really want to do it, for one, it's a drag for you, but also it doesn't have the power of somebody that's doing something because they want to. And that's what we're really going for as a community, at least in our hearts and minds. So that is the end of my message. Anyway, I just want to bring us back to the original point of the vision. right? We are a church that is not a church, but a family where the experience of community, love, and God's grace abound. And like I said, we're not a community just because we come to the same building once a week and we sit together, or because we happen to know each other. It doesn't make us a community. What makes us a community is all the things that we talked about, the things that we'll be talking about, and the effort that we make to care for each other and one another. So with that, please join me in prayer. Good morning, our most beloved Heavenly Parent. Thank you so much for this day. I am so humbled and grateful to be here in front of all members of our community and the people who couldn't be here today, and also the people who are serving, teaching Sunday school, cleaning up after the cafe, cooking lunch for everybody downstairs. So grateful for everybody's heart to serve, because we know that we're not just serving people, but because we are taking on the action of you, Heavenly Parent, that because you can't be here with us, we want to love people with the heart that you have to want to love them, that you can reach people through us, Heavenly Parent. Today, Heavenly Parent, I just pray that as a community, as a church, that we can adopt the vision of becoming a family and a community into our hearts, that we can commit to this, not just that we're committed to a church, but that we're committing to one another, that we're committing to investing into each other and creating this community, not expecting anyone else to do it. And I'm grateful that we could each be here today. You have a plan and a hope and an inspiration for each and every single one of us, Heavenly Parent. And I pray that as a community that we can really build that to fruition, that we can bear the fruit of all the effort that you have invested in each and every one of us, that we can reach all the people out there who are searching, not just for your truth, not just for your will, but also for a community, a family to belong to, Heavenly Parent, that we can open our arms, we can open our hearts and open our minds to be able to reach and receive the people, regardless of where they're coming from in their life, Heavenly Parent. Because as the video said earlier today, we may not always agree on everything. We may not always see eye to eye on everything, but it doesn't mean that we can't walk hand in hand to the same goal together, Heavenly Parent. That's what it means to be a community. And I pray that your guidance, I pray for your direction, everything that we do, Heavenly Parent, that we can continue to walk towards your goal for our community, for your inspiration for our community every day of our lives, Heavenly Parent. And I offer this prayer in the name of Michael and Adonia Hendrick, a blessed Central family. Amen and Aju. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Pastor Mike. I really loved, even though I know all these things are happening, I just love hearing it and being able to think of each person who's investing into our community, investing into each other, and all the people that we didn't mention there's so many more who are also giving and loving. So that was really awesome. Thank you. At this point, we're going to have our offering. So if you like to give your tithe or donation, you didn't put it in the box yet, there are envelopes in front of you in the pews. If you'd like to put something in there, we'll have our offering basket come up and our prayer over it. All right. Okay, we have a lot of exciting things happening in our church community this week. And so I'd like to share our local announcements with you. First of all, we had, yay, let's give a round of applause. We had a number, as you may or may not know, we just had a huge interreligious, interfaith, intercultural, international marriage blessing ceremony in Korea. And we were so excited to be able to have several people from our community go and participate and start their new life, bringing God into their life. So we have Koki, our drummer. He got blessed with Virginia Rose. And we had Neil Ichinohe. He got blessed to Alex Gustafson. And we had Anton also go and get blessed with Miri from Israel. So, yay! Be sure to welcome them back and greet them and congratulate them the next time you see them. Okay, right after service, we do this every week, where Pastor Mike, oh, by the way, my name is Pastor Adonia, and my Pastor Mike and myself are married, and we pastor the church community together. And today I'm MC, but today Pastor Mike will be giving the message. And also after service, he'll be giving the Who Are We presentation. This is a brief introduction to our community, to our faith, to our history, and especially to our vision and where we're going in the future. So if you, whether you are new or you're a long-time member, this is a great experience. It's just short, 20, 30 minutes, and you get really a taste of our community. So please join Pastor Mike in the French ministry room, which is the room on the other side of the cafe, right after service. Every Thursday at 7, Dr. Hentrick will be leading a Bible study where we can dig deeper into the Bible and find out the secrets of the Bible. So please, if you have an interest in that, please join him at Thursday at 7 p.m. Still looking for a volunteer to help us run our video camera. So you don't have to have a lot of experience, but we just would like somebody who's here rather consistently to be able to help us record throughout the service, and that way we can share our services not with people who weren't able to make it, and also people who around the country and around the world who watch. We have upcoming Divine Principle Education seminars in IPEC, the International Peace Education Center in Las Vegas, and the one, let's see, starting from the 12th to the 18th, 10th to in October, 10th to 16th, and November from the 30th to December 3rd. If you are interested in any one of these, we encourage you to go, and please talk to us. We also have some scholarships that we can help out with. This is IPEC in Las Vegas, a great place to go, great experience to have. And today, I hope some of you guys are ready. We're going to go on a hike. This is the kickoff of Roger Furer's new ministry called The Amazing Natural World. And the hike will be leaving right at 1 o'clock. So we're going to meet in the parking lot, and we can figure out carpooling so we don't have to take a whole bunch of cars. And we'll be back by 5. So it's a short drive. It's a relatively easy and short hike, and there's amazing views. So please join us. And also, I'd like to let Roger just say a few words as he's organizing it.
Yes, I'd like to invite you to the hike. I can guarantee it will be the widest trail you've ever walked. And also, if we get lost, I brought the book Ties to the Colorado Mountains, which I am a co-author of. So if you want to meet in the parking lot, unless Michael's sermon is 2 hours, at a quarter to 1, so we can get organized and we'll take a few cars. The hike is west of Everett.
It's a beautiful location. Also, kids are welcome. I'm going to be taking my twins, so if anybody wants to join us with kids, that'd be great. Roger is the Colorado native. He knows pretty much everything there is to know about Colorado and the mountains, and he also has lots of fun stories and entertainment on a hike. So please join us for our hike today at 1. And next week, our Smith family will be cooking and cleaning, so thank you very much for that. And the Noyoung family is cooking today, so please be sure to give them your appreciation when you see them. Oh, and the Vogenthalers are cleaning. Okay, thank you. So that's it for our local announcements.